breaking free from parental control? Is my pursuit of happiness destroying my family? I, a 36-year-old man, am currently navigating a desolate landscape of shattered trust and raw anger. My family, once my presumed bedrock, now feels like a war-torn ruin, and I'm genuinely tormented by the question of whether I'm the architect of its destruction. My older brother, Michael, 39, and I grew up in a sprawling, comfortable suburban home, the sons of loving, albeit somewhat traditional, parents. From the outside, we presented a facade of brotherly camaraderie, shared childhood adventures, whispered secrets under the covers, and an unbreakable bond supposedly forged through countless backyard escapades and family vacations. But beneath that polished surface, there was always an unspoken, yet omnipresent, dynamic. Michael was the golden child. He was the firstborn, dazzlingly intelligent, effortlessly charming, and seemingly destined for greatness. Every achievement of his, from academic accolades to athletic triumphs, was met with effusive praise, elaborate family celebrations, and often, significant financial backing. When Michael wanted to pursue an elite business degree at an Ivy League university, my parents readily took out a substantial loan without a moment's hesitation, believing it was an investment in their brilliant son's future. When he later launched his own ambitious tech startup, they contributed a truly significant sum as seed money, seeing it as fuel for his burgeoning empire. Their pride in him was boundless, almost a tangible force that filled every room in our home. I, on the other hand, was always viewed as more grounded, more sensible, perhaps even a little less ambitious. My passion for carpentry and my choice to pursue a more modest career as a custom furniture maker were met with polite nods, veiled skepticism, and pointed questions about long-term stability and retirement plans. My state university tuition was paid for, but every extra expense, every tool purchase, every business development course, was entirely my responsibility. There was no discussion of substantial loans or seed money for my dreams. Those resources seemed exclusively reserved for Michael's grander ventures. This subtle, yet persistent, favoritism permeated every aspect of our lives, creating an invisible but palpable divide. Michael, bless his heart, never seemed to notice, taking their boundless generosity as his birthright, a natural consequence of his inherent brilliance. I, meanwhile, developed a gnawing sense of having to prove my worth, to fight for every scrap of recognition, to build my success from the ground up, entirely on my own merits. Our parents, I truly believe, thought they were being fair. They saw Michael as needing investment, because his path was riskier and more impactful, while my independence, to them, was a sign of my inherent strength and self-reliance, not a consequence of their differential treatment. There was a deep-seated tension in our relationship, a silent rivalry that I always tried to suppress. I loved Michael, of course, but his effortless success, his unquestioning acceptance of parental handouts, often felt like a painful, constant reminder of my own perceived lesser status. The emotional tone was one of superficial harmony, masking my deep-seated resentment and Michael's unacknowledged privilege. My fierce loyalty to my family was always tempered by this persistent feeling of being an afterthought, a dependable but ultimately less cherished investment. This core imbalance, buried beneath years of forced smiles and unspoken pain, was about to erupt with devastating consequences for all of us. The slow, insidious build-up to this family implosion has been a relentless, grinding pressure beneath the surface of my life for years, escalating dramatically over the past 3 years. Michael's ambitious tech startup, which had been generating a lot of buzz and parental investment, began to hit turbulence. Publicly, he maintained a confident facade, but whispers of delayed payrolls and defaulting on investors began to circulate within our extended family. Yet, despite these clear signs of distress, my parents continued to pour money into his venture, quietly liquidating assets, taking out new loans against their retirement savings, always under the radar. I only found out about the true extent of these financial infusions accidentally, through hushed phone calls I overheard between my parents and Michael, or fragmented conversations at family gatherings. When I gently pressed them on it later, they were evasive, saying it was just temporary support, Or a bridge loan to get him through a rough patch. Always emphasizing that family helps family. This was a profound betrayal. Not only were they depleting their own security, but I suspected this was impacting a specific family trust. Our grandfather, a shrewd but loving man, had set aside a substantial sum, a kind of future fund, for both grandchildren, to be managed by Michael as the eldest until we both reached 40. Grandfather had explicitly told me once, during a quiet moment, "This is for you and Michael, a little boost when you need it most." Its depletion, solely for Michael's failing ventures, felt like a public declaration of my worthlessness compared to his, and a desecration of grandfather's wishes. The emotional distance between my parents and me widened into a chasm. Any conversation about finances, Mom's increasing medical bills, or my own small struggles, like needing a new workshop for my growing furniture business, would be met with defensiveness from them, or a quick change of subject. Michael, meanwhile, seemed completely oblivious to the injustice, accepting their boundless generosity as his due. He'd occasionally make flippant comments like, "Yeah, Dad really believes in me. Good thing he's got vision, huh?" The casualness of his privilege, while I was meticulously saving every penny to expand my modest business, fueled a deep, corrosive resentment within me. The subtle betrayals became less subtle, more blatant. My parents started hinting that Michael might need to take a break from tech and eventually come back to run a portion of my successful carpentry business, implying that I should make space for him to recover, despite my own hard-won progress. They never once considered that I might have my own career goals or that my success, built without their direct financial backing, deserved unadulterated recognition. The early warning signs were screaming at me: constant anxiety before family gatherings, the way I'd mentally prepare myself for another slight, another unacknowledged achievement. My partner, Liam, a truly supportive and perceptive man, noticed it too. "They treat you like their fallback plan, and Michael like their endless investment," he'd say gently, urging me to confront them. But the thought of disrupting the fragile peace, of shattering the illusion of our perfect family, paralyzed me. The final straw came a few weeks ago, during an offhand comment Michael made at a cousin's wedding about Grandpa's little nest egg being a lifesaver for his latest venture. My blood ran cold. The little nest egg was the family fund, the inheritance meant for both of us. His casual admission, combined with my parents' frantic, hushed glances, confirmed my darkest fears. The fuse, which had been burning for decades, finally reached the powder. The powder keg detonated last Saturday, during our annual family barbecue at my parents' house. The air was thick with the smell of grilled meat and the forced cheerfulness that always accompanied these gatherings. Michael was holding court by the grill, boasting about a new, strategic partnership for his struggling tech company, while our parents beamed proudly, their faces radiating adoration. I watched him, a knot tightening in my stomach. The casual mention of Grandpa's nest egg at the wedding had haunted me. I had spent the week piecing together snippets of conversations, old family documents, and hushed comments. I found an old bank statement from grandfather's estate, clearly showing a substantial trust fund established years ago, explicitly naming both Michael and me as beneficiaries, with Michael as the sole trustee until its full disbursement at a specific age, which we had both passed. The balance was gone. All of it. My heart pounded with a mix of cold dread and searing rage. I walked over to Michael, who was laughing loudly with our father. "Michael," I said, my voice dangerously calm, cutting through the casual chatter. He turned, his smile faltering slightly as he saw the grim set of my jaw. "What's up, little brother?" "The trust fund, Michael," I stated, holding his gaze. "Grandpa's trust fund. The one meant for both of us. The one you were the trustee of." The air around us seemed to solidify. My parents, who had been listening, froze, their faces paling. Michael's easy smile vanished, replaced by a defensive scowl. "What about it, Alex? It was a managed investment. Things happen." "Things happen?" I retorted, my voice rising, all the years of suppressed resentment, the unacknowledged struggles, the profound injustice boiling over. Things happen, like you siphoning off every single penny of our inheritance, the money Grandpa explicitly left for both of us, to bail out your failing ventures? While I've been working my ass off, building my business from scratch, you've been living off Grandpa's goodwill, and our parents' blind favoritism. My words cut through the festive atmosphere like a knife. Other family members nearby turned, their conversations dying. My father, his face contorting with shock and fury, stepped forward. Alex! What are you implying? Michael has always been responsible. He knows what he's doing with family money. Responsible? I shrieked, tears of rage blurring my vision. Responsible for depleting our inheritance while Mom's medical bills are mounting and you're liquidating your own retirement to cover his mistakes. He's been bleeding this family dry, and you've been letting him because he's your golden boy. My voice cracked with emotion. You never saw me, did you? I was always the one who could take care of himself, so you could pour everything into his potential. Michael, his face contorted in a mask of pure fury, lunged forward. You ungrateful bastard! You're just jealous! I made investments. Things went south. I was trying to grow the money for everyone. You think you're owed something just because you scrape by? You're pathetic. My mother, who had been standing frozen, finally burst into tears, whimpering. Please stop fighting! Not here! You're breaking my heart! You broke mine decades ago, Mom! I roared, the words tearing from my throat. Every time you poured money into him, every time you dismissed my dreams, every time you praised his genius while I struggled, you broke me. And now you let him steal from our own grandfather's legacy. I turned from them, grabbed my keys, and stormed out, leaving them stunned, shattered, and utterly silent in the middle of their perfect family barbecue. The confrontation was raw, brutal, and utterly devastating. Michael, cornered and exposed, clung to his narrative of misguided investments and attacked my perceived jealousy. My parents, their denial shattered, instinctively tried to protect their golden child, feeling attacked and misunderstood. I, consumed by years of unacknowledged pain and the shocking discovery of his profound betrayal, finally erupted in a desperate plea for justice and recognition. Both parties had understandable, though deeply flawed, motivations, leaving behind a wreckage of a family. The immediate aftermath of that explosive confrontation was a desolate, echoing silence, punctuated only by the pounding in my ears and the frantic cries of a distant child. I drove away from my parents' house in a daze, the scent of grilled food and shattered dreams clinging to me. The crumpled bank statement, now a symbol of utter betrayal, lay on the passenger seat. My body shook uncontrollably, and the white-hot rage that had fueled my outbursts slowly drained away, replaced by a chilling numbness, then a crushing wave of grief. It felt like I hadn't just ended a fight, I had detonated my entire family structure, the one I had so painstakingly navigated for decades, only to discover its core was rotten with deceit. The betrayal, the explicit evidence of Michael's theft and my parents' enablement, was a physical ache in my chest, a constant, gnawing pain that made it hard to breathe. For the first few days, I was a ghost in my own life. I barely ate, and sleep was an elusive torment, plagued by nightmares of Michael's furious face, my parents' horrified expressions, and the undeniable proof of the stolen inheritance. My mind raced, constantly replaying every word of the argument, every subtle slight from the past, every instance of their unwavering, almost blind, support for Michael. I felt foolish, utterly naive, for not having dug deeper, for trusting that the responsible, eldest son would honor grandfather's wishes. The guilt also started to creep in, an insidious whisper suggesting I was too harsh, too selfish, too quick to expose such a devastating truth in front of everyone. Had I been too extreme? Did I destroy any chance of reconciliation by revealing the depths of his deception so brutally and publicly? My daily life became an almost unbearable burden. The financial impact of Michael's actions on our parents' retirement, and by extension, their future care, weighed heavily on me. My focus at work, usually sharp and dedicated, was shattered. I'd stare blankly at my workbench for hours, Unable to concentrate on crafting furniture, my mind trapped in a relentless loop of anger, sadness, and furious calculations about how to secure Mom's future, knowing a significant portion of what was meant for her, and me, was gone. My appetite vanished, and a constant, dull headache throbbed behind my eyes, a physical manifestation of the emotional turmoil. The conflict also profoundly affected my other relationships. My partner, Liam, was an unwavering rock. He listened patiently as I poured out my heart, offered constant validation, and held me as I cried for hours. "You had to expose it, Alex," he insisted, his voice gentle but firm. "You did the right thing. This isn't your fault." My closest friends listened with shock and sympathy, validating my feelings of injustice. But even their support couldn't fill the void left by the potential loss of my family, or the terrifying silence from Michael. My parents were distraught. My mother called, her voice frail, begging me to think of the family and not ruin things permanently. She seemed completely unable to grasp the severity of Michael's actions, or the fundamental breach of trust, often trying to shift blame onto me for the drama. This inability to see my perspective, to acknowledge their deep-seated favoritism, felt like a final, crushing betrayal. The silence from Michael was deafening. No calls, no texts, no attempts at reconciliation. It was as if I had become a ghost in his life, and the thought was excruciating. The grief for the lost sibling bond, for the shared history that now felt irrevocably tainted by deception, was almost unbearable. I missed the brother I thought I had, even as I resented the thief he had become. The weight of it all, the loneliness, the confusion, and the terrifying uncertainty of what comes next, felt utterly crushing. It's been almost a month since the explosion at the barbecue, and the silence from Michael is absolute. My parents are in a state of fragile denial, alternating between pleading with me to forgive and forget, for the sake of family unity, and subtly blaming me for causing a scene. Liam has been my unwavering anchor, but I feel the strain on him. I've spent countless sleepless nights replaying every moment of that confrontation, every subtle slight from childhood, every unacknowledged sacrifice. My mind is a whirlwind of conflicting emotions and doubts, and I desperately need an outside perspective to make sense of this wreckage. Was I too harsh? Did I go too far by publicly exposing Michael's actions and calling him a thief? I understand that from his perspective, he might genuinely have seen those funds as his to manage, perhaps even to invest aggressively for everyone's benefit, and when things went south, he panicked. He might truly feel that my success means I didn't need that inheritance as much as he did for his failing ventures. Perhaps he believes I'm just jealous of his past achievements, and trying to ruin his reputation. Is my years of pent-up resentment and exhaustion coloring my judgment, making me an unfair accuser, an ungrateful brother? On the other hand, the weight of being perpetually overlooked, of having my sacrifices and independent successes minimized while Michael was secretly siphoning off our grandfather's legacy, feels like a profound, lifelong injustice. This wasn't a minor oversight. It was a calculated act of financial betrayal against our family and against grandfather's express wishes, committed while I was tirelessly building my own life from scratch. It's not just about the money. It's about the emotional invalidation, the feeling that his entitlement knew no bounds, and that he was willing to steal from our own family's shared heritage. Was it wrong of me to finally demand accountability and justice for grandfather's legacy, even if it meant a dramatic, public confrontation that shattered our family's fragile peace? I felt like I was fighting for my dignity, for the acknowledgement of my existence as an equal child, and for the integrity of our family's history. So, Reddit, I'm turning to you because I'm lost and heartbroken. Was I wrong for finally exposing my brother's alleged theft of our shared inheritance, and confronting him and our parents so brutally, leading to a complete rupture in our family relationships? Was my outburst justified, a necessary act to finally protect my parents from further financial exploitation and liberate myself from years of being overlooked and exploited? Or did I simply destroy any chance of reconciliation and cause irreversible pain, making myself the villain in this tragic story? I need honest, unbiased perspectives, Because right now, I'm consumed by guilt, grief, and confusion, and I don't know how to navigate this fractured family dynamic or my own overwhelming exhaustion.